Hey, how are you? I hope you're having a great day. I just want to share with you something about something that you do every single day. And because you do it every single day, you probably don't think about it in a way that could boost, amplify, enhance your life, every aspect of your life, every physiological or neurological process in your body. I'm talking about sleep. So I just want to talk to you about two different processes that occur naturally in our bodies and how certain things that we can do during the day will either upregulate or downregulate that. So as humans, as mammals, we're diurnal, meaning that we sleep during the night and we're energized and have the most vitality during the day. So what's happening as we near the evening, there's a natural build-up in our sleep hormone called melatonin. As the sun dips below the horizon, the blue light that's hitting our receptors, our melatonin receptors, melopsin in our eyes, diminishes. And as it does that, the hormone for sleep increases. And at some stage, we get this urging desire and need and want to sleep. Now, the other thing that's happening in parallel to that, two different processes, but ultimately the same effect, is that we get this sleep pressure. So this chemical called adenosine is growing and accumulating over the course of the day. And it's actually our own physiological, biological barometer of time. And it tells our body, our physiology, how long we've been awake. And so this chemical builds and builds and builds until we get to a critical mass. And once we're at that critical mass, we again have this urge, desire, want, need to sleep. So two things are happening in parallel. We've got this buildup of adenosine, this chemical in our brain, and we've got this buildup of melatonin, this sleep hormone. Now, there's certain things that we can do that affect the accumulation, that ultimately affect the desire to sleep. So coffee is the largest commodity on this planet, second only to oil. It's bloody delicious, makes you feel good. But the caveat with oil, with coffee, is that don't drink a cup of oil. Is that it is a natural stimulant. It is a drug, if you want to categorize it, but it has a half-life of 6 hours. So in 6 hours from final ingestion, you'll have half the amount of caffeine in your system. It has a quarter life of 12 hours. So, within post 12 hours after consumption, you've got a quarter of that caffeine still in your system. So how does that impact us? Well, caffeine will compete for the adenosine receptors in our brain. So instead of getting this natural accumulation of this chemical that urges us to sleep, we've now got caffeine competing for those receptors. And so we don't get that accumulation and we don't hit that critical mass. So I'm not saying for 1 minute, I'm not a Philistine, don't drink coffee, but just consider when we have our last cup. Because if we're starting to go into late morning, early afternoon, we're going to compromise that urge to sleep. So there's been studies to show that it compromises that buildup of adenosine, but also it'll compromise our ability to sleep and our quality of sleep. So you might find that you're waking many times or at least once after you fall asleep. The other thing that's going to impede our quality of sleep and when we do fall asleep is the blue light hitting our receptors in our eyes. So as I said, as that sun dips below the horizon, the blue light diminishes rapidly, and so that build-up of melatonin increases and we get that urge to sleep. However, now with natural incandescent lights and obviously LED blue screens, such as the one I'm talking to right now, iPads, computers, we have this artificial blue light filtering into our eyes. So when we're watching Netflix and we're binging on episodes in Netflix or Stan or whatever, what we're telling our body is that the sun is still up. And so it's stalling and stunting the release of melatonin, which then we have this lag. So when you're naturally designed to sleep, might be say 8:30, because we're stalling, we're stunting that release of melatonin, you might only want to go to sleep now at 9:30 or 10. And it impairs the quality of that sleep. So you might find that your REM sleep, your active sleep is compromised. So there are two different processes. We've got melatonin, we've got adenosine, and there's a couple of things that will impede the quality and the time at which you sleep. The other thing important on sleep is to understand your chronotype. So we're all geared differently. So our chronotype is the optimal period within a 24-hour period that we're designed to sleep. And your chronotype, which is quite interesting, unlike many other processes in our body, it is genetically pressed into our DNA. So we can't modify when is our optimal time to sleep, other than about half an hour either side. So extreme cases or extreme definitions would be a lark. So someone who goes to bed early, that rises early. And the other flip to that is the night owl, so someone who goes to bed later and obviously wakes up a bit later. But if you're a night owl, good luck, because society and culture rewards the lark. So it's just sort of worth bearing in mind to identify what your chronotype is, because I feel like if you're a night owl, obviously your sleep is being compromised because you're having to wake up early for meetings and work and school and all that. So that's, and when you're waking up early, it's often your REM sleep that gets compromised. So identifying your chronotype, and also if you're a night owl, you're trying to do the right thing and the good thing by going to bed early, but you might be lying there thinking that you're an insomniac because you're mulling over things in your mind, but it's just that you're not actually geared for sleep. You're not biologically set up to sleep at that moment in time. So sleep is precious. It is the biggest driver for health. You think about how you feel physically, emotionally, cognitively when you've had a terrible night's sleep versus how you feel when you have a suboptimal meal or you miss the gym. Like, it has more weight, it has more gravity. And so you repeatedly have poor sleep, you can quickly see how your emotion is impaired, your ability to have concise, logical, rational thought kind of goes out the window. And your ability to think and have good alert cognitive function kind of goes out the window. And you typically, research has shown that you have poor food choices. So really cherish sleep, put a lot of time into fostering the right environment for sleep. Just a few things on that. Temperature is really important. So the optimal temperature is about 17 to 19 degrees. So if your room's too hot or you're wearing too many layers or there's too many layers on the bed, maybe have a think about that. Because your body, when melatonin is released, it tells your body a number of physiological things that it needs to do. And one is to lower your heart rate, lower your body temp. So if you've just eaten, your own internal furnace is cranking, and so that goes loggerheads with your physiology to lower your temperature. So bear in mind that. So don't eat before 2 hours before bedtime. Temperature. What else? Dark. It needs to be really dark. So blackout curtains are preferable. Earplugs. Anything that fosters this environment that enables as best possible good quality sleep. And obviously binge watching on Netflix. Binge watching on Netflix does two things. One thing that I've just described about the release of melatonin and the blue light, hitting your melanopsin in your eyes. But also, if it's a thriller, if it's a drama, it's evoking other hormones, stress hormones. If you're watching a thriller or a horror movie, obviously the reaction, the emotional reaction, is triggering hormones that are going against your sleep hormones. So all that stuff is important to know and to recognize. And that's about it on sleep. So tuck yourselves in. And if you do have a shit night's sleep, you can always nap the next day to recharge yourself and make up for that sleep debt. But if you're constantly every day in this sleep debt, it really is a driver for ill health, disease, weight gain, weight accumulation, all that stuff that we're all trying to avoid. So sleep well, guys. Night night.